Hello and welcome to the webinar. I apologize as I had to kick this meeting down field 2 hours to help out a new client of ours. But I did want to just jump right into this. Today, we're talking about price shoppers. You'll hear your service advisor saying they're bottom feeders, that they're annoying, and it's just another price shopper. Sometimes that is not a bad thing. And so that is one of the things that I wanted to cover today. With local service ads, for instance, the way that those are structured, the client knows less about your company when they're calling than they do about with traditional ads. And so sometimes they may be a price shopper. And so some people say, oh, local service ads are garbage. They're just price shoppers. It's just a different type of lead. Anyone calling your shop asking about your services is a good lead. I want to point that out. They're not just bottom feeders. I know that some service advisors will call them that. They're just bottom feeders. They're looking for a price. And I just want to I just want to turn the tables on that. Have you ever called somewhere looking for a price? You're not a bottom feeder, and neither are they in general, at any rate. I'm not saying that all of them are great leads, but if they're calling asking about your services, it's a capturable call. This is something that can be booked. And I just want to go over a few of the mechanics of why they are asking for price. They don't know the difference. So when I type in auto repair, Henrico County, Virginia, certified auto pops up. And so I can click through on there. I can also look at Yelp, and I'm not a big Yelp fan. Everyone on here knows that. But I can also look at Yelp just as I'm going through this Carfax. I can look at that as well. And then it brings up another auto shop. But they are looking at all this information and they don't know the difference. This is one of the reasons why AI is trending so hard, is because the Google Gemini will pop up in some areas. That is not across the North American continent, by the way. That is popping up in some areas to where it just has Google Gemini only and only a Gemini experience. That is also happening. This query I did this morning. And so in my area, it also comes up with Gemini, but there are also other searches that come up as well. It's not just Gemini. So that is coming across the northern US. And I apologize, the North American continent is popping up in different places in the country. But people, when they ask about a price, it's because they don't know the difference. Why do I want those leads? Because they are new and they are impartial. If they don't know the difference, then your competitor doesn't have an advantage, and neither do you. They are looking for a differentiator. And so it is our job as marketers, as company owners, as sales staff to help them to find a differentiator. If your service advisor says it's just another price shopper, they never convert, that is partially their problem and they're doing because they're not handling those correctly. And I know that that's a hard pill to swallow for some service advisors, but that is the case. So how do I sell them? Okay. Well, we have answers for you. So this is literally a screenshot from one of our clients' websites on their homepage. So it has a service price list. It has their 6,000-mile oil change right there at 79 bucks. A 10,000-mile oil change is 150. And level one testing, we have different, they say, okay, I have a check engine light. Can you take a look at it? Well, if we're just going to do level one testing, it's $53.99, and that can go up from there. As we all know, if you spend an entire day doing a diag, it is not going to be $53.99, and you should. Well, that's a different topic, but you should charge for that if it's going to take you a day to do a diag on that. Most of our clients do a free visual inspection. We call it a free no wrench inspection. That is typically free. That is one of the tools that they use to sell them over the curb, is to bring them down. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. But say someone calls in and they're like, hey, I need pricing on some brakes. You can say, hey, we have a service price list right there on our homepage. Rear pads and rotors for a 2017 Ford F-150 are $695. And so you see that we do have various pricing on here for various repairs. An alignment for Euro it's not the same price as maybe 2,500 plus trucks. And so those are on here at $272. And so it gives them a ballpark to work with. This is a big trust builder. And this I highly recommend. I've talked about it in other webinars. I've talked about it in one-on-one client meetings. If you have a lot of price shoppers, this is a great opportunity for you to help bridge that trust gap. So it's giving them a reference. Okay, so sales training is another one. So please ignore this picture of me. But we do sales training. I've done it on site. I've done it multiple webinars. I did one last month of a webinar. If your sales staff need training, I'm more than happy to do that. We just grab a couple other sales reps and or counter help, if you will, service advisors, service writers, whatever you may call them, and we'll do a sales training together. But this is one of the things that I teach when someone is doing a price call. I teach them to say, we are the most transparent shop around. I'd like to refer you to our service pricing page. And you're calling about brakes on a 2019 Toyota Camry. That's cool. We have something very similar on there. And we like to be transparent in our pricing. And if they continue to persist, we can talk about variables. There are different variables that are prevalent when somebody brings their car in. Sometimes X is rusted, sometimes X damage has been done. Like if you ride on your worn brake pads too long, then the rotors will be warped. If you go down a mountain with a steep grade, then your rotors can be warped. Those are other things that we would not have known about. And we like to give pricing when we're able to look at those things. Does that make sense? Typically, they'll say, well, yes, that makes sense, but I'd still like a price. And you can say something to the effect of, well, it's been my experience when people are calling just for brake pads that they'll call our competitors. And sometimes our competitors will give you pricing that is cheaper. And when they come in, then they're unhappy because they see that there are more things that are wrong with the vehicle, or there are other ancillary issues that are priced, and that makes the customer very upset. And does that make sense to you? And they'll typically say, yeah, that makes sense to me. Say, hey, if you're looking at that reference page, that gets us in the ballpark. But in order for me to give you a more accurate estimate, could we take a look at it at 2 o'clock? Can you make it in at 2 o'clock so we can give you an accurate estimate? And so that is just one of the ways that we get around the pricing issue. Also, with AI, that is one of the things that AI is looking for. So someone will get on ChatGPT or Claude, and they'll say, hey, can you get me pricing on my 2019 Toyota Camry brakes? They have services that will actually call you and ask for pricing. And that is not going to get better. It's going to get worse. But if they can jump on and find a reference page on your website that says, hey, 2020 Toyota Camry brakes were X amount of dollars, it will go back and report that to the customer. And that is getting better and as far as being more accurate. So if you have that page, then ChatGPT or Claude or whoever they're using for that can report that back to them. And so we're trying to head this off of the pass, so to speak. We're trying to get ahead of the curve. But I just want to reiterate, just because someone's calling on price doesn't mean it's a bad lead, doesn't mean they're a bottom feeder. It just means that we have to do more work on that and to help them to find a differentiator. One other sales training tip that we teach in those sales training classes that I do not charge for, by the way. But one more tip that I would add there is taking that opportunity to differentiate yourself and say, it's been my experience. You'll hear me say that it's been my experience that people call up, they don't know the difference in warranties, and so someone will give you a price for, say, $297 for brakes, pads, and rotors per axle, but they only have a 12-12 warranty. We have a 36-36. And you talk about the differences and why you may be a little bit more expensive, and maybe why somebody would want to do business with you, and say, well, some people call the dealer and they're 2 weeks out. We can help you out the same day. That's different than than what the dealer can do for you. And this is your opportunity to shine and to make a difference between you and your competitor. And so ask more questions. And then at the very end of the day, these price shoppers, if you call back within 2 hours, you call back by the end of the day, just call this individual back and say, hey, I know that we gave you a price on this. Or most shops, we recommend not giving a price, but say, hey, you'd called on a price on this. Did you have any questions, or did you have anything that needed to be answered? And that is giving you the opportunity to close them and to bring them back in the event that they hadn't booked an appointment or that they had declined services. So I just wanted to bring those things up and to give you that training. All is not lost when someone's calling for a price. And like I say, it's going to get worse, not better. So your staff needs to get better at this. They need to get good at this, and they need to be able to work with the price shoppers because it is only going to get worse with AI and people just sitting in their comfy little homes. If you look at your Amazon experience, you're able to scroll through some prices, you're able to scroll through reviews, all never having talked to somebody. I'm sure that if my wife purchased something, I know that she purchased shoes last week. Everybody that knows my wife knows that's accurate. That hey, guess what Sam got his wife for Mother's Day? It's whatever she picked out, whatever shoes she picked out. It makes it really easy for me to shop. But did she ever talk to the manufacturer? No. Did she look at reviews? Yes. And a lot of individuals that are looking for auto repairs are going through the exact same process. They're looking for information online. They're asking what people's experiences were with them. Were they comfortable? Is what she would have asked on these shoes. Does anything fall off? She does have very fancy shoes oftentimes. They'll have bumblebees or something to that effect on them. And she'll ask, has anybody had any issues with these when she gets them? And so people are asking those same questions about auto repair. They need to be educated. It's not just that they're cheap and they only want the lowest price. That is not always accurate. So just be aware and cognizant of those things. And if you need sales training, we can go through that. Just hit me up and we'll make that happen. And so in the meantime, just know that these price shoppers, you're going to get more and more of them, especially with local service ads and Facebook ads. You're going to have more price shopping going on, but they are not a bad thing. I just want to reiterate that they're not always a bad thing. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll tune in next week and we'll talk to you then.